Our video today is going to feature the Blum restriction clip, the 130-degree restriction clip that's used with the 170-degree hinge, the one that has all that linkage on it. You can use it with the 170-degree straight arm hinge, or you can use it with the one that's half crank, and that's for half overlays. So the restriction clip is very useful for that hinge, and so I'll start the video just showing you how to put it on in case that's all you want to see. And then after that, there are about 5 examples of how it is practical to use that restriction clip in cabinet construction. So let's get started. We are inserting the Blum 130-degree restriction clip 70.6103 into a 170-degree hinge. Now this will work in any 170-degree hinge, whether it's a straight arm or a half cranked. Now you'll see the arrow is pointing directly to the little hole that we're going to put the restriction clip into. And now we open it up and it hits against the linkage on the hinge. Now don't expect any bells to ring when you put it on yours. They don't come with a bell. In our first example, we're showing a Blum 170-degree straight arm hinge. We're using it without a restriction clip. This is where most of the hinges are used. In this case, if you have a door that's anywhere from 5/8 of an inch thick all the way up to 7/8 of an inch thick, there's going to be no need for a restriction clip. As you can see in this image, the doors open up 170 degrees and there's no possibility of it hitting anything. We have a 0mm plate and a boring distance of 5 millimeters, so we have a tiny reveal between the hinge sides of the door. It looks like about a 3mm reveal there. So that's an application where no restriction clip is required. Now let's take a look at an example of using a standard 170-degree straight arm hinge, and a restriction clip is necessary. You see the arrow pointing to it there. We might be at the end of a run, and at the end of the cabinet there's an obstruction of some type. It could be, maybe there's an entryway into the house, could be a refrigerator. Maybe this is a real tall pantry cabinet and there's a light fixture that could get in the way. Some appliance. Anyway, there's an obstruction on the right side in this image, so we can't have the door open up all the way. So then we use the 130-degree restriction clip with our 170-degree hinge to prevent the door from opening too far and hitting something. That's one example of the need for a restriction clip on the 170-degree hinge. This video clip is demonstrating what the factory describes as a twin application, where 2 hinges are back to back on a cabinet, and the doors come very close together with a very small amount of reveal. In this application we have thick doors, and when we say thick, they're at least 7/8 of an inch or maybe up to 1 1/4 inch thick. We have a minimum reveal chart here because we're showing door thicknesses. We can use a door in this example from 7/8 of an inch thick all the way up to 1 1/4 inch, as you see by the chart. Now, assuming that this is a 7/8 of an inch door, you're not likely to strike where you see those that little star flashing there. But if you were at 1 inch, when you open the door, that door would strike the adjacent door. So something has to be done to prevent that. The application is with what the factory describes as a zero mounting plate. On these hinges are attached with. So it makes for a very minimal reveal, maybe from 3 to 5 millimeters that you see there flashed in red right now on the screen. So when those doors open up, if they're bigger than 7/8 of an inch, they're going to strike. So there has to be a solution for that. And we'll look at the solution in the next clip here. So in this clip, the blue mounting plates there, I've increased their size. Instead of what the factory calls a 0, we now have a 3. And that has increased our space between the doors by 6 millimeters. Now, when we use a 7/8" door, it's not going to hit, and you can go all the way up to 1.25" on your mounting plate, or I mean you can have 1.25" thick door and it's still not going to strike. So in that case, the restriction clip is necessary. In this video, we're looking at an extra thick door application. And it can be done using a restriction clip with a straight arm hinge, 170-degree straight arm hinge, and the restriction clip, 130-degree restriction clip. As you can see in the diagram, if you're using a door up to 1.5" thick, you're going to have what they call a little teeny gap between the corner of the door and whatever's behind it. So you see that red line. So it's possible, and that's about all I can say on it. If you have that thick of a door, don't be afraid to use it. That 170-degree hinge will work just fine. You can look at the chart to see what your Z gap would be if you used doors thinner than 1.5" on these extra thick applications. Here's an interesting application using the 130-degree restriction clip. You don't often see a 3/8" lip door anymore, but it can be done with a 170-degree hinge. But it's necessary to use a 3mm mounting plate. And also your drilling distance for your hinge cup is set back 11 millimeters, and you can see that in the drawing. So a good application here with the 170-degree hinge and the 130-degree restriction clip so that you can accomplish the 3/8" lip door. And remember again, this is a 170-degree half crank hinge, not a straight arm hinge in this case, using that restriction clip. Now another thing about it, when you do the 3/8" lip, instead of having a 37mm setback for your mounting plate screw holes, now your mounting plate screw holes will be set back at 46 millimeters. And then you will accomplish your 3/8 of a lip on your door. Here's another possibility using the 130-degree restriction clip. And in this case, you would be using a 170-degree half-cranked hinge and a 3mm mounting plate. And look at that nice mitered corner door application you can get from it. So I think that's a good application using the restriction clip along with a 170-degree half-cranked hinge. Well, thanks for watching our video today. I hope that after you once saw how the clip hooks on, that you found some of the information useful to you. And if you did, give us the thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe.